They say British food is terrible, but is it really? Well, not in my opinion. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the top 10 choices of British food, because I've been a teacher for nearly 15 years. And in that time, I've taught thousands of students, helped students from all over the world. And I've tried to encourage them and let them know that British food isn't that bad. And joining me to talk about our top 10 British food choices is my dear friend Rob. Hello, welcome.
Hi, Roy. Hi, everybody. Great to be here and great to be talking about food, my favourite subject.
What do you... So today we're going to talk about mains. I think we're going to talk about mains. That's probably the thing. We can save desserts for another lesson, but I do love British food. Which is normally your biggest meal of the day, though?
Well, it'll be dinner time in the evening, or what we might call tea time. That's when we have our biggest meal, when the family come together for a proper belly full of food. that's our time.
Have you heard that thing like breakfast like a king, lunch like a queen, and dine like a pauper? But British people seem to do it on the top, the other way around. We seem to go the other way. I must admit. I don't know whether apparently it's not overly healthy to eat a big meal at dinner. We should eat a bigger breakfast, but a lot of British people do. What time do you eat dinner?
Oh, not too late, actually, because you're right. I don't want to go to bed with a full belly, full stomach of food. About 6 o'clock is our tea time.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. Did you know that a lot of students of mine, they find it really weird we eat dinner that early?
Mm.
In a lot of other countries, they tend to eat a lot later, like 8 and 9 o'clock. My wife is Brazilian. Normally for her, they're eating. I'm ready to go to bed at that time. And she's when we're in Brazil. I'm like, well, no. I don't know. I think it's a bit of a shock for some students when they go to restaurants and they stop serving at around 8:30.
Yeah,
stop serving food.
I think it's a weather thing as well, isn't it? In a nice warm climate, you want to eat later, maybe outside. But here, it gets cold and it gets dark. So let's get some food in us before sunset.
Before the dark. It sounds like a terrible film. So in this lesson, I thought we'd discuss our top 10 British main dishes, the British food that we think students should try. So I'm gonna say, please, you go first. What's your number one suggestion? Of course, they're not in any order, but what's your first choice that a student should try and you think they'll enjoy?
Well, for me, it's always got to be a pie. I do like pie and mash, or pie with chips. As you know, we're very keen on chips over here, which are not potato crisps, which are the little fried bits. Chips, how do you describe chips? So they're chopped potatoes that have been fried up into nice long pieces of fried potato. So yeah, chips, of course. But pie, yes, pies are that pastry dish with something inside. It could be beef or chicken and mushroom, steak and kidney. Any kind of form of pie with mashed potato or chips. Yeah. How about you?
I hate mushrooms for the start. I absolutely I think they are the worst thing that's ever entered any menu. But I absolutely agree with your pie and a mash choice. And I was going to say that's a big difference between British and American English. We tend to call chips the things that are warm, and they tend to be a bit thicker. We also do have fries in the UK. Fries tend to be longer and thinner. But Americans call all of it kind of fries. So they probably call them chunky fries, maybe. Whereas our chips are very much. And we call what they call chips, which is the thing in the packet, we call them crisps, as you said. But yeah, I like a pie with maybe beef and gravy, steak and ale. So you've got some kind of like steak and ale. Of course, it sounds like it's more alcoholic. It's not. But I always like pie, mash, and gravy with some peas on the side as well. Gravy is everything. It's kind of a meat, sort of stock meat sauce to kind of, it softens a lot of the dish, and it can make it a lot more sort of moist. That pastry could be quite dry. It shouldn't be, but it could be. I love it.
But also, just to mention pies, though, there, Roy. If you eat out, we do have places called pie and mash shops, which you can get a very cheap, affordable meal, which is, as it says, a pie and mash. And then they put this green stuff on sometimes, a kind of parsley-based sauce called liquor, don't they? Yeah. So that's in a pie and mash shop. You can have a cheap pie and mash meal there, can't you?
I'd say that's very much a London thing, the pie and mash shop. We can get pie and mash and pie and chips all over the country. But pie mash shops specifically, you find a lot of those where we're talking about liquor. I'd never heard of liquor until I went to London, and it's I've tried it. I prefer gravy.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. But I think that liquor thing it seems like a very London thing. But good choice, good choice. I'm going to go with my first choice, or our number 2 will be fish and chips. It's a staple.
I agree. Yeah.
Fish, chips, and peas. We'll talk about the peas in a moment. But a lot of people, it's a very, very heavy dish, very fatty, very calorific. A lot of calories, adds a lot of energy to us, which can become fat if you're not careful. A lot of students always say, but Roy, it's such a heavy dish. How can you eat this? Well, we don't eat it every day. I think maybe once a month, maybe even less than that. And, you have your fish, which if you get a good quality fish, it is amazing. If you buy not such a good quality fish, it's going to be awful. But it should be cod, in my opinion, battered, which is wrapped in this kind of crispy outer shell, if you like, for the fish. And then you have your chips. I need to say, especially on fish and chips, we do put salt and gravy on the chips, and it is amazing. My wife is a convert.
And vinegar. Don't forget, you can also put vinegar on chips just to give it a little bit of extra.
Heavy amount of vinegar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heavy amount of vinegar. And on the fish as well. And lemon sometimes as well to give it even more flavor. Some people will have it, not maybe from the chip shop, but they'll have it with garden peas, which are the peas in the shell. But some people have mushy peas. Mushy peas. How do you feel about mushy peas?
I love them. I really do love them because, as the name suggests, the peas are mushed up into a sort of almost like a paste, a green paste. The kind of slimy green, paste. That's how I can describe it, really.
You've perfectly described it, and it's exactly the reason that I hate them. Genuinely, I can't eat mushy peas. Much like liquor, I think for me, mushy peas, it feels like somebody's already eaten them. They've chewed them and spat them out. So I'm like, no, I prefer my peas whole if I'm going to have them. But yeah, mushy peas are a no-no for me. I know a lot of people like them. Some people have chips and gravy, things like this. And another thing I'm going to say before I hand over to your second choice is chip butty. Quite often when we go to the chip shop, you'll get some bread as well, and you put the chips in and we have a chip sandwich, which is an ultimate loading of carbohydrates. It's my favorite thing. Maybe a bit of ketchup on there as well, just to kind of really add some flavor. I love a chip butty. I think my wife is getting there on that one. But yeah, chip butty as well. So I mean, it's just fish, chips, bread. There's nothing. I don't know. Some people may argue this, but there's nothing really overly healthy about that meal at all. Maybe the fish is okay, but it's deep fried.
Yeah.
So yeah, not every day, but amazing.
So we do sometimes cook it at home, but I think people tend to buy their fish and chips from a fish and chip shop and bring it home to eat. It saves you cooking for a start. And I think it tastes better, as you say, when it's been deep fried in a proper deep fryer in a fish and chip shop. And it's a very comforting kind of meal, isn't it?
I think it's an event. I do think it's kind of you have the fish supper. Some people have fish and chips every week. They go to it's like a ritual. The fish and chip shop. And of course, there's so many different options you can get there. It's not just fish and chips. You can get chips and gravy, chips and curry sauce. You can get lots of different things. In different parts of the country, you can get different things as well. You go to the north and there's different things. You go different parts of the country, there are different options.
Yeah, the other thing you mentioned, cod. Again, there's a bit of a north-south divide, I understand. You traditionally get cod down south, but if you're up north, such as Yorkshire, for example, they tend to have haddock as their main fish.
Oh, right.
So, yeah, watch out. Different fish in different parts of the country.
So, what is your number 2, which would be our number 3?
Okay, well, it's got to be the classic Sunday roast. Well, a roast dinner. We call it a Sunday roast because traditionally we seem to have it on a Sunday. I guess that's when the family come together more and there's more time to cook it. But yeah, a roast dinner. So it could be roast beef, which is my favorite. There's roast chicken, of course, and roast lamb, all the roast meats. And they come with everything else is roasted as well. Roast potatoes, got to be crispy, nice roast potatoes. You can have roast parsnips and roast carrots to go with it, and some other vegetables as well. And then, of course, gravy again, poured all over the top of it just to make it nice and moist. It's delicious.
And you've forgotten one major thing there that we do need to talk about: Yorkshire pudding.
Yorkshire puddings. Definitely got to have a Yorkshire pudding. Again, it's batter, isn't it? It's batter that's been baked. And so you get this crispy thing, which is nice to put gravy on, just to add to all the carbs that you have on your roast dinner. Yeah, lovely.
Again, it's not an everyday dish because you will be you won't live very long, to be honest, if you keep eating all these things every day. I imagine fish and chips for 3 meals a day. I don't know how long you're going to live for, but yeah, absolutely. So you've got this roast meat selection, and quite often we go to these carveries, and they carve the meat for us in front of us. It's like again, it's a bit of an event. You go to this place, somebody will carve the meat. They'll ask you what meat you want. Roast beef, or you can have a mixture. Roast turkey sometimes, although that's more traditional for Christmas. Roast gammon sometimes, and then they'll give you stuffing. We forgot the stuffing balls, the kind of which is a kind of just a round ball, usually of kind of mixture of herbs and whatever it is. What is stuffing? Do you know?
Stuffing, yeah, is herbs and bread, crumbs and non-meat stuff all stuck together, and I think you put it with your meat to give it a bit of flavour, perhaps a bit more exciting flavours than just the plain meat. Yeah,
it's like sage and onion kind of together, and it gives a little bit of flavour. I've just checked out what that was, and you know, and then you say you've got your roast potatoes, sometimes with mashed potatoes as well. You've got multiple types of potatoes. You've got some veg, gravy, and you can absolutely make a mountain of food to eat.
A roast dinner is a real feast, isn't it? It's a special meal. So I say you probably have it once a week at the most because it takes a lot of preparation. But it's delicious. All that mix of meat, vegetables, potato, gravy all over it. Absolutely delicious.
Yep, I think that's a brilliant choice. And I'm going to go for toad in the hole. Toad in the hole. It's a bit of I haven't had toad in the hole in a while, but I kind of miss it. It's a huge Yorkshire pudding with sausages, basically. And I really enjoy toad in the hole. What are your thoughts on it? It's like, so normally the Yorkshire pudding is maybe sort of fist sized, but toad in the hole tends to be a much bigger Yorkshire pudding with maybe 3 sausages baked into it.
It's a batter mix. So the kind of mix you make Yorkshire puddings with, I think you can make pancakes with a batter mix as well. But in this case, you pour it in the bowl, you put the sausages in it, so it's baked with the sausages in it. And again, it's delicious. I love it. I'm all for toad in the hole, definitely, because you get that the meatiness of the sausage, but also you get that nice texture of the kind of the Yorkshire pudding around it. Yeah, and again, gravy on top just to soften it all up.
Sometimes veg goes in there as well. I've seen that happen. I've seen people put veg in there. I don't really love it. It's not as common as it once was, I don't think. I don't see it in as many pubs. I wonder if it's quite tricky to make, or
just to clarify, there are no toads involved with this food, are there?
No, we don't eat things that live in the garden, not normally.
But my next choice is very similar. I was going to say sausage and mash. So we mentioned the sausages in toad in the hole. These are just sausages cooked separately without the batter, and usually served with a big pile of mashed potatoes. That is sausages. Yeah, again, quite a staple in the UK. They come in all different shapes and sizes, and you have Lincolnshire sausages and Cumberland sausages. All that dependent on the kind of meat and the sort of spices and herbs that go inside. But a good old fashioned sausage, you can't beat it. Or bangers and mash, as we call it as well sometimes.
I was just going to say, so apparently we call them bangers and mash because when they were in the ovens, they used to explode and make a banging sound. So they called them bangers, apparently. I'll be honest, this is my favorite. I was going to save this one for later. You've taken my favorite away. I'm going to take yours next. I don't know. But bangers and mash, I absolutely, I've said if it was my last dinner on earth, that would be it. Bangers and mash, I love it. The potato, this is the thing as well, mashed potato, it's got to be done right. It's got to be nice and fluffy and light and really kind of not overly pureed. Some cultures like it sloppier. I don't. We like it quite structured, firm, but also not lumpy. Nobody likes lumps of potato. That's horrible. But yeah, and we have such a lot. You talked about the different types and shapes of sausage. We also use different meats in sausage. Quite commonly, it's pork, but you have beef sausages, turkey sausages. You have lots of different types of sausages, lots of different spices in the sausages as well. There's also, you get pork and leek sausages, lots of different flavors. Black cracked pepper sausages I had recently, incredible selection.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, it's my favorite. And then smothered, personally for me, peas and smothered in gravy. I love it. I love it. I like it when it's structured like you've got a mound of potato with like 3 or 4 sausages, like almost like it's a structure, and then some gravy on it. I love it. Absolutely love it. Cannot fault that choice. That's the best one that's come out of all of us so far, I think. Oh no, then suddenly, I don't know. They're all amazing. So my next choice, I'm moving from dinner to breakfast, and I'm going to go a full English breakfast. It is a mains, so I'm not straying away from what we've talked about, but full English breakfast has to be. Now, again, this is not an everyday food. If you ate this every day, I mean, it's designed for people that are doing manual jobs, I imagine. It's good for a hangover. If you're feeling a bit hungover after the night before, then fry ups can help. Sometimes we call it a fry up. But a full English breakfast is usually bacon, sausage, beans, hash browns, which are like kind of fried potatoes. There's fried eggs, maybe some scrambled eggs if you're not fancying the fried eggs. A bit of toast, usually fried bread. A lot of fried. Some people have mushrooms on them. I ask for mushrooms never to come near my food. And some people have tomatoes on them, cooked tomatoes. I don't mind tomatoes. And that's kind of it. And there are some regional variations. In Northern Ireland, you may get, a different kind of breakfast. It wouldn't be called a full English. It would be called, a different kind of breakfast. And there are regional differences.
Fry, I understand.
Ulster fry, isn't it? I had one in Ulster. It was stunning. Really, really good. But that's my choice. That would be definitely my choice. Some people add chips onto it and stuff, but yeah.
Actually, I'm thinking about it. I will put that first because I do like a good fry up. And actually, although it's meant for breakfast, you can have it later in the day as your main meal if you wanted to. And sometimes if you go to a restaurant or a pub more, they'll have an all-day breakfast, which basically is a fried breakfast, but you can have it any time of the day. So it's an all-day breakfast. But basically everything on the plate is fried. So it's not particularly healthy, but it tastes good and it fills you up, doesn't it? That's the thing.
It does. I mean, you can, if you could probably have that and then not eat again for the rest of the day, really, for the amount of calories you've taken in. But it's good. It's not an everyday food, but I love it, and it's a kind of guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you agree with that one. That's your number one. See, I told you I'd take your number one.
However, my next choice might be close to number one for me, actually, and it's from Scotland. It's a Scottish meal, and it's haggis or haggis, tatties, and neat, to be precise. I don't have it very often. And I'm not sure if Scottish people have it that often, but it's particularly they particularly have it around Burns Night in January when they celebrate the poet, don't they? Robbie Burns. Yeah. Rabbie Burns, to be precise. That's when they particularly haggis, but you can have it other times of the year. And haggis is, how do you describe haggis? It's a bit of a variation on sausage, really, and it's lots of offal, offcuts of organs,
intestines and organs and a liver and all that kind of stuff. Put into a sheep's stomach, I think.
It's mixed up with bits of oatmeal and stuff like that, all mixed together and traditionally cooked inside a sheep's stomach. Although nowadays I don't think they use sheep's stomach, but you can be cooked inside a sheep's stomach. And even though that sounds disgusting, doesn't it? But when it's cooked, it's absolutely delicious. And
I'll be honest, I've never eaten it. I've never eaten it, partially because it's cooked inside a sheep's stomach. That makes me a hypocrite because I eat so many different types of meat. Of course, by the way, we've been talking a lot about meat dishes, but there are a lot of vegetarian options in the UK and vegetarian alternatives to most of the things we've talked about. Vegetarian fish and chips, not so much, but vegetarian sausages, and then you get vegetarian full English, vegetarian pies, vegetarian Sunday roast. Instead of the meat, you can get something like that. So there are a lot of options for vegetarians.
Yes.
It's just quite clear that we are both meat eaters.
We are. They do vegetarian haggis as well, and I've tried that, and that is quite nice. Try that. The haggis is great though, and it comes with tatties, which is a kind of Scottish informal word for potatoes, so mashed potatoes, and neeps, which is mashed swede, which is a vegetable.
Oh, is it?
Mashed swede or turnip. Turnip, sweet, similar thing. So it comes with that. Yeah, it's a great, again, filling, pretty unhealthy meal. Most of the meals we've talked about are unhealthy, actually, but they still
What I
taste.
love so much is that we've been going top 10. Is British food really that terrible? And by this point, we've just gone, it is really unhealthy. I think, but it's everything in moderation. So if you don't, try it every 5 minutes and kind of thing like that, if it's a one-off dish, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's
As you mentioned earlier, we don't just eat British food because we have a real mix, multicultural food around us. A lot of curry, actually. We eat a lot of curry, as you said, partly because of our influence and from India. There's lots of curry houses where you can have a curry out, or you can make curry at home, or you can buy a curry and bring it home and eat it. That's delicious as well. That's almost a British meal in itself, isn't it? A curry these days.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's a staple diet. I think it was voted Britain's favorite food,
Mm,
which is, and I think some of the curry dishes that we now know and love were invented in the UK. One of them
yeah.
that's really extreme, I think the fal, which is one of the hottest curries, was invented in Birmingham. I think.
Uh-huh.
If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I know some dishes were invented here. And I will say as well, we're talking about all these kind of heavy dishes. Normally, a British person doesn't, they won't eat those on a daily basis. They won't even eat those every week. Um, what we actually eat, we can discuss in another podcast because it's normally cereals for breakfast, not full English. It's normally something else for lunch and maybe even a salad for dinner. We're not. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any of us left. I think.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
I,
these are just traditional, typical British dishes. Yeah, you're right, and it's your choice next as well.
it is, and I'm not gonna curveball you, but I'm gonna say one that I love, which is kind of a main. It was a main, and it's sort of drifted into being a snack. A Cornish pasty.
Mm.
A
Mm.
Cornish pasty. So traditionally, the Cornish pasties, and you get some huge Cornish pasties as well, which are still mains. They're quite clearly designed to be mains. They are like a half moon shape, a pastry with a hard shell down the sides, and inside there's all kind of meats and onion and usually beef, onion, and it's really really tasty. It's often quite peppery, and it's basically a self-contained pastry from Cornwall, obviously from the name. This is the moment that somebody says, "Oh," but I'm sure it's from Cornwall, and it was invented for the miners apparently, so that they could go down, and the hard shell on the outside is so they could grip it and not get it kind of. They could hold it like it's almost its own container. So it was a thing,
Yes,
and
I
they'd eat the
understand.
pastry.
Yeah, it's you say the it's a crust, isn't it? A really hard crust,
Yeah.
which is quite nice to eat now. But traditionally, I think
Yes.
they held the crust because their hands were contaminated with lots of poisonous minerals from the mine, so they'd throw that bit away and just use that like a handle, really. But
Yeah.
now, as you say, it's a nice crispy crust, a bit of pastry that's just nice to eat in itself. But yeah, I agree.
And
I like pasties. Yeah.
they're often quite seen as now a snack, like a sausage roll. Well, not like it, but they're an alternative to a sausage roll. But traditionally, they would have been a meal. And a lot of places they still do these big Cornish pasties that are basically a meal, and they
Mm,
are amazing. So, yep,
mm.
that's my choice. That's a high choice there. So, moving on from Cornish pasties, what is your final choice for the top 10?
Oh, well, this is a really good filling winter food, and this is shepherd's pie,
Oh,
which is not like a pie I mentioned earlier in a sort of pastry case with pastry on top. This time it's meat and potato, basically. It's minced meat or minced lamb, usually, because shepherds look after lambs, don't they? I suppose
yeah.
that's where the name comes from. You could use minced beef as well. But anyway,
I
it
think I
says
think
minced.
that's called a cottage pie, isn't it? If they
You're
used,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
very similar. Cottage pie, yes, minced beef. Shepherd's pie, minced lamb. That's cooked up in a gravy, some vegetables, carrots, and stuff thrown in. And then on top is a layer of mashed potato, maybe with a bit of cheese on top to make it a bit more exotic and a bit more tasty. But it's quite an easy meal to make. You make a big shepherd's pie. You can serve it with some peas or some vegetables as well. But again, it's a nice, comforting, particularly nice warm meal to have in the winter. Yeah, that's
yeah.
one of my favorites, partly because it's easy to cook.
And there, as you say, you can use lamb to make it a shepherd's pie, very similar to a cottage pie with beef, and of course fish pie as well. Some people do make a
Yeah,
fish thing with the equivalent with potatoes on the top as well. And it's usually often served with, veg on the side as well, even though there's veg already in it and gravy. things like this, maybe a bit of broccoli or something like this. But absolutely great choice. And I'm going to say there are a couple of other honourable mentions that I thought of. Lancashire hot pot, which is great.
Yeah.
Lancashire hot pot, mainly from Lancashire. You don't see it so much in the rest of the country. Of course, you can find it. But there's a lot of regional dishes that we haven't really talked about. Another one that's from London, I don't like it at all. Jellied eels. What?
Oof.
I don't. No, thank you. Jellied eels. Some people love it, but it's eels. They look like snakes from the sea. No, thank you. But my final choice in the top 10 is sandwich. A sandwich.
Is that a meal?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Now, whether or not people haven't eaten a sandwich before the sandwich is completely it's a thing up for debate whether it existed before the Earl of Sandwich created beef between two slices of bread. So you had bread, butter, something in the middle, and another slice of bread with butter, and you put it together, a bit like a chip butty, but it's the sandwich. And this is the thing: a lot of people around the world think we eat heavy meals all the time. A sandwich is the perfect kind of light bite because you can customize it the way you want it. A bread, and I'm not going to debate whether or not it's we can argue about whether sandwiches came from here, there, or everywhere, but whether or not it was the first thing. But it's a very staple of British diet. Cheese sandwiches, beef, different chicken sandwiches, and then you get mayonnaise. I don't like mayonnaise that much, if I'm honest. And when I have a cheese sandwich, I cannot put butter on there. I always say I don't mix my dairies. I don't know. It feels like the cheese has melted a bit if I do that.
What about pickle? Cheese often goes with pickle. Cheese and pickle sandwich.
Amazing. Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. You've got the Tesco's meal deal, which usually has a sandwich. So there's a supermarket called Tesco. And a lot of supermarkets and places do it now, but I think it was originally Tesco's meal deal is the one that's stuck in my brain, where you can get a sandwich, a snack, which could be crisps or a chocolate bar, and a drink for a set amount of money. If you've got a loyalty card, it reduces the price even further. And that is a whole meal. It's called a meal deal. So a sandwich is a part of a meal. Not an ingredient, but it is a meal on its own. People do sometimes just have sandwiches, peanut butter sandwiches. Peanut butter. I don't have peanut butter and jam. That's more of an American thing. They call it peanut butter and jelly, P&J or something, PB and J or something.
I do have peanut butter with banana. Peanut butter with banana is actually quite a nice mix.
That's good.
Sandwich.
That's good. That's really, really good. And yeah, so that's my final choice. And I've just remembered halfway through, could have said cheese on toast because that's incredible. Welsh rarebit. It's when you've got basically a piece of bread with cheese that's grilled onto it. I think Welsh rarebit is slightly different. It's got Worcestershire sauce on it, I think. That's right. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes, that's right. Yeah. Slightly more exotic, isn't it? Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
And you can go one step further with a sandwich and have a toasted sandwich. So if you have if you have a little sandwich toaster machine, you put the sandwich in the toaster machine, close the lid, and it toasts it so it's warm inside. The cheese melts.
Yeah.
That's nice too.
I love a cheese toasty. I'm really hungry, Rob. I've been sitting here talking to you about food, and now all I want to do is say it's time to eat. But if you are interested more and more about life in the UK, check out this lesson on being polite, the do's and don'ts to help you be polite in the UK, to help you master British politeness. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next podcast.
Bye, everyone.